Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called, You Would Like to Cancel the Appointment? My dad used to be field maintenance for the post office. Basically, if a mail truck broke down, Dad would go out with a special truck to tow it. This had priority over all other things, usually. If post office machinery needed wrenching, he did it. It had a moderately high priority. If a blue mailbox needed a paint touch-up, he also did that, but it had a very low priority. One day he gets sent on a job out into a post office in the boonies, nearly a 3.5 hour long drive, one way, if traffic was favorable. This job was to repaint the parking lot. You can figure that this job wasn't exactly high priority, so they've already been waiting quite a while for it to happen. He gets to the site, and the equivalent of the floor manager gets snippy with him, telling him that he was just going to have to sit on his hand and wait for 2 more hours. Apparently, the floor manager had some project planned for that day that would require moving a bunch of stuff outside temporarily, using up the parking lot space. He fully expected my dad to stand around and wait for this job to be done. You filed a work order, and you have been scheduled for this job for a while now. You knew what data was going to be arriving. I'm here. The floor manager pompously said, You are going to wait. No, I am not. I'm starting the job I was sent to do. So he spins on his heel and heads for his work truck to grab the equipment. The floor manager charges outside, screaming at the top of his lungs. You will not paint this right now. You will paint when I say you can paint, and I say you will wait 2 hours. Dad was looking absolutely mad. If I put my equipment back in my truck, I will close the work order, and you will have to file another one. The floor manager storms inside and returns with the postmaster of the post office, a spineless, sniveling, hand-wringing trick-offer man. Look, I know you're here to do this job we requested, but really, is it too much to ask for you to wait until this project is finished? It's only 2 hours. Dad icily said, I drove 3.5 hours to get here. Either I start right now and head for my home base on time, or I close the work order and end the job. The postmaster whimpers and wheedles and wrings his hands, then nods. Close the work order. I'll file another order and you can return tomorrow. Dad smiles thinly, nods and climbs back in his truck to head back to his home post office. He then calls his own postmaster and explains what happened. Well, give them what they want. Close the work order. And now here's the malicious part of the compliance. Dad and only 8 other guys covered an area of approximately 250 miles or so. So yeah, they were way understaffed. Also, in order to get any requested jobs done, there was a whole bureaucratic mess to make it happen. You had to write up a work order, send it in, get put on a waiting list and hope that a bunch of broken down trucks didn't bump you further down the list than you already were. If your work order was closed, whether or not it was actually completed, the job was considered fulfilled. This means that it could not just be reopened. They would have to file a completely new work order and be listed accordingly in the many higher priority jobs. Since this post office was out in the boondocks with an extremely low priority job on a very understaffed workforce, they've essentially shot themselves in the foot by refusing to let him get started immediately. I can neither confirm nor deny that their new work order mysteriously dropped to the bottom of the list of priorities a few more times than necessary. But I can confirm that it was at least a further 3 months before that parking lot got painted. The floor manager made himself scarce, and the spineless postmaster was very quiet when he signed off on the work order's completion. The next story is called, She Wouldn't Want to Give It to Me. Back in college at Mizzou, the freshmen living in the dorms would eat in a big cafeteria. You get in line and walk up to the counter for the food you want. The cafeteria worker would give it to you, then you sit and eat. Important to note, it's an all-you-can-eat type thing. Once you swipe in, you can have an unlimited amount of food. Also, many cafeteria workers were students just trying to help pay for college. One day, my buddies and I went to get some dinner in the cafe. One counter had chili cheese hot dogs with a side of fries. Sounds good. You know what sounds just as good? Chili cheese fries. That's what I want. I stand in line, wait and get to the front. The worker was obviously a student my age. She puts the hot dog in the bun, scoops the cheese from the container, puts it on the dog, scoops the chili from the other container, puts it on the dog, put fries on the plate and hands it to me. I asked her, hey, could I get some chili and cheese on my fries please? And she told me, no sorry, it's not part of the recipe. So I said, right, I know, but I just wanted to get some on my fries. She again told me, no, sorry, I can't, it's not part of the recipe. So I explained to her, I've had mixed and matched ingredients before with other workers, like it was no problem. Can I just get some chili and cheese on my fries? And she told me, I'm not going to say it again, I will not put it on your fries. I had the most dumbfounded look on my face at that moment, and she is staring me down, obviously irritated. I'm pretty angry with this rule that I've never heard of or experienced, so I decided to go another route. I asked for another chili cheese hot dog, so she grabs another hot dog, puts it in a bun, puts on the chili, puts on the cheese and hands it to me. Making a point of maintaining eye contact, I hold the second hot dog in my hand, take my fork and scrape off all the chili and cheese from the top of the hot dog onto my fries on my first plate. Thanks for the help. My buddies went up afterward and she didn't deny them chili and cheese on their fries. The third story is called Just Make It Flat. I was reminded today of an incident from many years ago. At the time I was working for a large government contractor. While walking across the 5-acre campus one day, I tripped over a bump in the ground, scraped my skin and sprained my wrist enough to require a brace. Per company protocol, I immediately took myself over to the medical office for treatment and to fill out a stack of paperwork, including the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. One of the questions asked was what could be done differently to prevent this in the future. The best sarcastic response I could come up with on how to prevent tripping over a bump in the ground in the future that wasn't going to cost me my job was, make the ground flatter. The medical staff smirked, I smirked, the corporate beast was satisfied. Several days later, on the weekend, I was escorting my parents around the facility so they could see where I worked. We walked past the crew cutting a square of bumpy asphalt out, the very bump I had tripped over. They then refilled the square hole to make the ground flatter. Of course, being a government contractor, maliciously complying with my suggestion to make the ground flatter wasn't exactly something they could do correctly. The patch job was about half an inch lower than the surrounding asphalt and actually became an even bigger trip hazard. But that is someone else's malicious compliance to deal with. The last story is called Manager Learned His Lesson. I work for a small manufacturing company that makes agricultural implements and large mowers. I've worked here for almost a decade and my primary job is to prepare the assembly line for new production. I get a schedule list every morning and do my job pretty much without oversight for the rest of the day. Occasionally there are issues with the parts supply in the weld department or in the assembly department and adjustments have to be made to the schedule list. Sometimes I discover these on my own, sometimes someone else lets me know of the issue, in which case I must go to the product manager. He's not my direct manager, I have a supervisor I answer to according to my department. But the nature of my job answers to his manager, the product manager. Most of the time I can find him walking around in the facility or sitting in his office. He seems to think I get all the information I need from him, very little, and I don't need to ask any questions or be privy to information I believe to be important. Some coworkers think it's because I'm a woman, but I can't be sure. Several years ago we had a large expansion to our facility and the paint department became larger. We started putting the gearboxes for our mowers on a separate assembly line to be painted. Our schedule list went from being a few pages long every day in black and white to being one page in color according to the color of paint the product would be. The new list also had a column titled gearboxes and some were marked with an X and some were not. The product manager told me to only load the products in the shaded rows, indicating their gearboxes were ready for assembly. So one day I'm doing my job like usual and noticed that I was almost out of shaded product. I went to the product manager's office and he was in a meeting. I can't interrupt meetings. Okay. I can't get a new list from anyone else and he didn't update me on any gearboxes getting painted today. Cue malicious compliance. It said before that the assembly line has one empty because of parts missing as mentioned before and I would be in a world of trouble if I prepared for products that did not have gearboxes ready. So I let the assembly line run empty of product. Looking back, I do not recall why no one else came along to question or stop me, but the assembly line went empty for an hour. Finally, the product manager came out of his meeting and walked past my desk, looking up. Why aren't you loading the product? Because I don't have any more shaded gearboxes on my schedule. He sighed, turned away from me for several moments before turning back and calmly saying, load the product. Apparently, the gearboxes got painted that morning and he didn't get me an updated schedule list or even let me know they were complete. It's literally my job to know these things, so please don't leave me in the dark. To top off the story, some of the paperwork I fill out every day indicates how much the company makes per foot that the assembly line runs on an average day. So that hour that I didn't do anything because no one updated me with new information cost him over 20k. He keeps me updated much better these days. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps in the algorithm. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.